I'm not talking about the kind of itch you get from a mosquito bite on a summer evening, or from dry skin when the air turns cold in winter. I mean a deeper kind of itch, one that feels like it comes from under the skin, nagging, restless, and no matter how much lotion you slather on, no matter how often you scratch, it just lingers. Now, most of us over 60, 70, well, we've learned not to overreact to every little new sensation. We chalk things up to age. Our skin changes, our circulation slows, nerves sometimes misfire. That's just life, right? But once in a while, a stubborn itch is more than just an annoyance. Sometimes, it's the first small whisper of a much bigger problem. A warning from your body that something is going on deep inside, something you need to pay attention to. That's what we're going to talk about today. Because the truth is, certain kinds of persistent itching, especially in specific spots, have been linked to serious illnesses like lymphoma, pancreatic cancer, and even breast or skin cancer. And in many cases, that itch shows up long before any other symptom. Now, I'm not saying this to scare you. The goal here isn't panic, it's awareness. The more we understand these subtle signals, the better chance we have to catch things early, when they're still treatable. And if what we talk about today helps even one person get an early diagnosis, then it's worth every second. And I do hope this message reaches you. If it resonates at all, if it makes you think about your own body, or someone you care about, please like this video or leave a comment below. You never know who your story might help. Now, let me share a story with you, one that still sticks with me. George was a retired high school teacher from Ohio, 75 years old. Still sharp as a tack, loved his crossword puzzles and morning walks. One winter, George noticed his lower legs were itching like mad, mostly the fronts of his shins. At first, he figured it was the cold air and aging skin. That's common, right? He bought thick moisturizing cream, used it morning and night, but the itch didn't go away. In fact, it got worse, especially in the evenings. It would keep him awake some nights, tossing and turning, trying not to scratch. George mentioned it to his doctor during a routine visit. They thought it might be eczema or maybe an allergy. He tried steroid creams, switched laundry detergents. Nothing worked. Finally, his doctor ordered a blood test, more out of caution than anything else. That test revealed abnormal white blood cell counts. Scans soon showed swollen lymph nodes in George's chest. He was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. And here's the kicker. The itchy legs were his only symptom for months. No pain, no fever, no lumps, just a persistent, burning itch. You see, cancers of the lymphatic system, like lymphoma, can trigger the release of chemicals called cytokines. These irritate nerve endings in the skin, often in areas like the lower legs, causing that deep, unrelenting itch. And because it happens so early, well before more obvious symptoms appear, this itch can be a critical early warning sign, but only if we know to listen. Now, that's one kind of itch that matters. But there are others. Let me tell you about Linda, a warm-hearted grandmother from Texas. Linda loved working in her garden, tending to her roses and tomatoes. But one spring, she noticed an odd itch between her shoulder blades, right in that spot you can't quite reach. She thought it was her old lawn chair rubbing her back. Switched chairs, no change. Then she blamed her bra strap. Tried different bras, tried lotions. The itch didn't stop. In fact, it started waking her up at night. When Linda finally mentioned it to her doctor, they ran routine blood work and found her liver enzymes were elevated. Further scans revealed a small tumor in her pancreas, pressing on her bile duct. And that itch on her back? It was her body's first clue that something was wrong. Here's why that happens. When a pancreatic tumor blocks the bile ducts, bile salts can build up in the bloodstream. Those salts irritate the nerves in your skin, often leading to itching in places like the upper back or shoulders. Now think about that for a moment. No digestive pain, no weight loss, just an itch. And that's why we need to take these signals seriously. Because your body is wise. It knows when something's off, but it doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, through an itch that won't go away. Of course, most itches are harmless. We all know that. But here's what I want you to remember. If an itch comes and goes, and responds to treatment, likely nothing to worry about. But if it lingers, if it stays in one spot, if it keeps you up at night, if no lotion or cream seems to help, if it feels like it's coming from deep inside, that's the itch you need to pay attention to. I'll share one more thought here. Many older adults are reluctant to bring up these kinds of symptoms. We don't want to seem like we're complaining. We worry we'll be dismissed. Or we think, it's probably nothing. Why bother the doctor? But please, trust your instincts. You know your body better than anyone. If something feels wrong, speak up. It's always better to be safe than sorry. And if you're watching this and thinking, this sounds like what I've been feeling, or if you know someone who's been dealing with a stubborn itch, please encourage them to get it checked out. It might be nothing, but it might be everything. Your health, your peace of mind, are worth it. Let's keep this conversation going. When we're young, it's easy to take the body's messages for granted. You get a little itch here, a twinge there, and you brush it off. But as we get older, those small signals deserve more attention, because sometimes they're the only way our bodies can tell us something important. That's why I want to keep this conversation going today, because we've talked about the lower legs and the upper back, but there are other places where persistent itching can be a red flag, spots we often overlook. Now let's talk about something a lot of folks dismiss right away, an itchy scalp. You'd be surprised how many people in their 60s, 70s, and beyond live with an itchy scalp and assume it's just part of aging. We think, it's the dry air, or maybe it's my shampoo, or I'm probably just sensitive these days. And sometimes that's exactly what it is, but not always. One of the gentlemen from our local veterans group, Hank, shared his story with us during a coffee morning. Hank's a tough old guy, 73 years old, spent most of his life working with his hands. But when he started feeling this strange, tingling itch on his scalp every afternoon, it got his attention. At first, he blamed his hat, said maybe the old baseball cap he wore had gotten scratchy. He stopped wearing it, no change. Then he switched shampoos, tried special oils, nothing helped. That itch stayed with him, moving around the scalp some days. Other days sitting right at the crown of his head like a burning sensation. No dandruff, no redness, just that deep, crawling itch. Eventually, Hank started feeling more tired than usual. His wife finally convinced him to see the doctor. A full blood panel revealed elevated white blood cell counts. More tests followed, and Hank was diagnosed with early-stage chronic lymphocytic leukemia. Now think about that for a moment. No lumps, no visible skin changes, no major pain. The first sign? That itchy scalp. It's because blood-related cancers like leukemia can cause your immune system to go into overdrive. The abnormal white cells produce inflammatory chemicals that irritate nerve endings all over the body, including the nerves in the scalp. And here's the tricky part. This kind of itch doesn't respond to the usual treatments. Anti-dandruff shampoos won't fix it. Moisturizing oils won't soothe it. The sensation persists because the source isn't in the skin, it's in the blood. So if you or someone you love starts experiencing an itchy scalp that won't go away, that moves around or feels deep and restless, pay attention. Especially if it comes along with fatigue, unusual bruising, or just a general sense of feeling off. Now, let's move on to another area where itching can be an early warning sign, one that affects many older women. And some men too. The chest or breast area. I know this can be an uncomfortable topic, but sometimes discomfort is exactly why we need to talk about it. Ruth, a dear family friend, was 69 when she noticed an odd itching sensation around her right breast, just beneath the skin. Close to the nipple, no rash, no lumps, just this stubborn, irritating itch in the same spot every single day. She thought maybe her bra was rubbing her skin, so she tried different bras, switched detergents, even tried going without a bra for a while. But the itch persisted. During her next checkup, she mentioned it to her doctor. The doctor examined the area carefully and noticed slight dimpling of the skin, something Ruth hadn't even noticed. A mammogram and further testing revealed an aggressive but small tumor growing close to the skin's surface. Once again, the first clue wasn't a lump or pain, it was an itch. You see, certain types of breast cancer, including inflammatory breast cancer, can affect the skin early on. Tumors close to the surface can cause skin thickening, irritation, or changes in blood flow. all of which can trigger persistent itching in that area. And this applies to men too. Though male breast cancer is rare, it happens, and because it's rare, it often goes undiagnosed until it's advanced. Men may experience an itchy patch near the nipple, a spot of thickened skin, or even a vague discomfort under the chest muscle, and they ignore it because they think, breast cancer? That's not something I need to worry about. But the truth is, if you're in your 60s, 70s, or older, and you notice a persistent itch in the chest or breast area that won't go away with lotions or changes in clothing, it's worth getting checked out. It might be nothing, but if it's something, early detection could save your life. Now, I want to pause here and talk about something else that's really important: why so many older adults ignore these kinds of symptoms. I hear it all the time. Folks say, "I didn't want to bother my doctor," or "It's probably nothing," or "I don't want to seem like a hypochondriac." But let me tell you this: your doctor would much rather hear about something early than have you come in when it's too late. Persistent itching that doesn't respond to normal treatments is not just in your head. It's not nothing. It's a signal, and your body is asking you to listen. And I know how hard it can be to speak up, especially when the symptom seems small or embarrassing. We're taught to be tough, to endure discomfort, but there's no medal for suffering in silence. Remember, it's not complaining. It's being proactive about your health. Your doctor can help you figure out whether that itch is something harmless or something worth investigating further. And the earlier you start that conversation, the better your chances of catching anything serious while it's still treatable. So if you've noticed an itch that lingers in one place, that feels deep or strange, that won't go away no matter what you try, don't dismiss it. Talk to your doctor. Bring it up, even if you feel silly doing so. And if you know someone, a spouse, a friend, a neighbor, who's been quietly scratching at the same spot for weeks or months, encourage them to speak up too. We're all in this together, and sometimes a small word of encouragement can make all the difference. Now that we've covered these important signs, let's keep listening to what our bodies are trying to tell us. Because those quiet messages, the ones that start as a whisper, are often the ones that matter most. By now, you can see just how important it is to pay attention to the small signals your body sends, especially those persistent itches that seem to have no clear cause. We've already talked about itching in your lower legs, upper back, scalp, and chest or breast area. Now, I want to address one more area, and I'll be honest. It's not an easy one to bring up, but it's too important to ignore. Persistent itching in the genital or anal region. I know, it's not exactly dinner table conversation. And for many older adults, this is the kind of thing we'd rather suffer in silence than talk about. It's embarrassing. We think maybe it's a hygiene issue, an irritation from soap, friction from clothing, or a side effect of age. And sometimes that's exactly what it is, but not always. When itching in this area becomes chronic, meaning it keeps coming back for weeks or months with no obvious cause and no relief from creams or proper hygiene, that can sometimes be the body's way of alerting you to something more serious. In fact, cancers of the anus, vulva, or penis often present with persistent itching as an early symptom. And because this is such a private area, many people delay speaking up, sometimes until it's too late. Let me share the story of Eugene, a 76-year-old retired carpenter. Eugene was a strong, quiet man, never one to fuss about his health. But for almost a year, he had been dealing with what he thought was hemorrhoid irritation. There was a constant itch and mild burning around his anal area. He tried everything: over-the-counter creams, dietary changes, cold compresses. The itch would ease up a little, but it never fully went away. Finally, after some gentle nudging from his daughter, Eugene went to see a colorectal specialist. The specialist performed a scope exam and found a small lesion on the anal canal wall. It was an early-stage tumor. Thankfully, because Eugene spoke up when he did, the cancer was caught early and treated successfully. But he later told his doctor, "If it hadn't been for that itch driving me crazy, I probably wouldn't have said a word." That's the key. Sometimes an itch is your body's only way of getting your attention. This is just as true for women. Vulvar cancer, while relatively rare, becomes more common after age 60. And one of its earliest signs is a persistent itch on or near the outer genital area. The skin might feel rougher, thinner, or slightly discolored. There may be no lump or obvious lesion, just a stubborn itch that worsens at night or doesn't respond to any treatment. Many older women assume it's just postmenopausal dryness or hormonal changes. And sometimes it is, but if the itch lingers, if it returns again and again, it's crucial to get it checked out. Here's something else to keep in mind. This part of the body is packed with sensitive nerve endings. It's one of the most responsive areas when it comes to internal changes. That means when something starts to go wrong, whether it's cancer, inflammation, or lymph node changes, those nerves are often the first to sound the alarm. But too often, embarrassment keeps people silent, and silence, in these cases, can be dangerous. I want to encourage you, if you're experiencing an itch in this area that just won't go away, please don't let pride or fear stop you from getting help. Speak to your doctor openly. You deserve answers, and you deserve peace of mind. And if you're caring for a loved one, a spouse, a sibling, a parent, gently encourage them to talk about any persistent symptoms they might be feeling, no matter how personal, because sometimes it's the conversations we're most reluctant to have that end up saving a life. Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought. Our bodies are always communicating with us. The challenge is learning to listen. Sometimes the signals are loud, pain, swelling, fever, but often, especially in older adults, the first clues are subtle. A bit of fatigue, a small weight change, a persistent itch in an unexpected place. And that's why this conversation matters. The 5 areas we've talked about today, lower legs, upper back, scalp, chest or breast area, and genital region, aren't random. They're spots where your body often sends the first quiet messages when something serious is happening internally. It's not about living in fear. I would never want you to walk away from this video thinking, every itch must mean cancer. That's not the message here. The message is this: trust your instincts. Know your body. Pay attention to changes that don't make sense or that linger longer than they should. If an itch responds to simple treatment, great, but if it doesn't, if it stays in one spot, gets worse at night, or simply feels unusual, don't brush it off. Talk to your doctor. Bring it up, even if you feel silly doing so. I promise you, your doctor would much rather hear about it early than deal with something more serious down the road. And remember, it's not complaining, it's being smart, it's taking charge of your health. And you are absolutely worth that. As we age, it's easy to fall into the habit of thinking every new ache, every new sensation, is just part of getting older. And yes, some of it is, but that doesn't mean we should ignore the signals our bodies are sending. Staying vibrant, staying independent, staying healthy, it all starts with listening. So here's my gentle challenge to you today. Listen a little more closely. Trust yourself a little more deeply. And if something inside you says, something isn't right, honor that voice. And if today's conversation spoke to you, if it reminded you of something you've been feeling, or encouraged you to check in with someone you love, I invite you to leave a comment below. Share your story, your thoughts, or your questions. You never know who might be reading your words and finding the courage to speak up because of them. And if you found this video helpful, if you'd like to be part of a community that values awareness, empowerment, and living fully at every age, I'd be honored if you'd like this video. Subscribe to Vibrant Elders and join us. Together, we can keep learning, keep supporting each other, and keep living our very best lives. Here's to your health, here's to your wisdom, and here's to staying vibrant at any age. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Until next time, stay well, stay curious, and most of all, stay true to yourself.